Casey is back, and in true fashion, creators are picking up vlogging again. But I quickly found out that watching one is completely different of filming one. So I sat down with a vlogger who can keep me as engaged with his videos as Casey can. Too long didn't watch. We're talking about storytelling, filming the right building blocks for your vlog, and it gets specifically juicy when we're talking about editing. But first, the real question. Casey's back. Now, what?
Ooh, Casey's back. That should make every half-ass vlogger shudder in their seat. The vlogging genre is so relatable because anyone can do it in any sort of field. When you have a guy like Casey who basically just trailblazed this entire thing and made it just like the Lord of the Rings of vlogging.
Nice.
When he left, it left this door open for kind of anybody to do anything like that and to get away with it. You could make half-ass vlogs, and because people are so hungry for that kind of content, that like anyone could sort of get away with making consistent vlogs. But now that he's back, it's like, hey, this was a kingless city for a while, but now the king is back. Your content better be good because I don't have to watch it anymore. I can just go watch the king. Roll the intro.
Okay, so for the ones who are new here and who haven't heard Chris Meets Chris, or what I now know is that your real name is Christopher, which is perfect to know. Christopher. So for the people who don't know you and haven't listened to the first episode yet, can you give us some context of who's Chris? And for the ones who did listen, like what happened in between that podcast and now?
The best way to describe me is like, I'm just a guy living in Vancouver, BC, Canada. That's kind of what my vlogs are just like somewhat in the tech sphere, camera sphere, I'd say, but trying to move more into just the straight up, like, this is my life in Vancouver. I own a coffee shop with my brothers called Revolver. It's in Gastown, which is one of the more heritage area of Vancouver. I've been doing that for probably the last 10, 12 years. This is like in terms of from the last podcast we had to now. From that time, I was doing daily vlogs. It was really easy for me to make daily vlogs back then because we're locked inside and like there didn't have to be a purpose. Like people are starving for social interactions and just like anything. Like I'm literally sitting in front of my computer waiting for people to feed me content. I learned a lot from now to then in terms of just how to be more myself in videos. Like when you start, you're going to be taking all of you're basically miming all of your favorite creators, the people that you watch the most. Your videos are going to be completely terrible wish versions of them. After you've done it enough times, that stuff slowly starts to shed, and then you're left with who you are, and that's when your channel actually starts. That's when your creativity really starts. I'll say.
I think you're right with that because like that's exactly what it felt for me, like making the switch between Tom's Odyssey and Creator Secrets now. Tom's Odyssey was just a mess of a lot of different things, a lot of different themes. And then for me, peering it out into what was already the podcast that we're listening to right now, but also what is now becoming more of a bigger brand where it's just I really know what the audience is, right? It's like creators, whether they're small or big, but they want to improve everything. And just the name itself, it just encompasses everything. That's why I also wanted to try out vlogging again, which is why we're doing this podcast in the first place. Because I thought, Casey's back. And everyone is going to start to want vlogging again. So why not give this a try and see if I can give some tips to people? Well, that turned out way shittier than I expected. First of all, when I started vlogging, like that day was like just Murphy's Law to the extreme. So everything that could have gone wrong just went wrong. And filming on top of that, it was just exploding in my head. There was like no there was no timeline that I saw in my head of like, this is how this video could actually turn out well. And then you sit down in the edit, and I remember that I'm texting you, and I'm like, huh, actually what I filmed was also, it was like, it wasn't everything, but this small part was actually pretty okay turned out.
I think that's honestly that's so true for vlogging, but that's also true for making video content or like photo content for any brand. The amount of times I leave a shoot and I go, did I get anything there? Like the things that you
Yeah.
that when you're shooting on your camera and you're in the space, it's really hard to see that one to one to what it's going to look like later, because you only need, like, it's amazing what a couple of cuts can do. The amount of times that I've shot vlogs where I'm like, this is terrible. Like, I'm just going through the motions right now to get home, to get to the edit so that I can just prove to myself that this sucks. But then, you start cutting a little thing here, like you dropped your camera here, but you were still recording. And then like you get a sequence, like you get one good sequence. That's usually all it takes to be like, okay, we need to keep going.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had. Like just that small
Yeah.
sequence. It's just like one transition, a part, like one, it could be one act, and then there would be another transition. Now it's just for me to figure out like what comes in front and what goes after this. That's
Yeah.
how it feels to me, at least.
You learn to rely on the fact that, okay, as long as I shot stuff, as long as I shot something in this area, like I got enough different angles, enough, like maybe I got one piece of content, me talking, saying something to the camera, because that's always one of the biggest ones. Like you'll shoot all this like B-roll of like your scooter, your face, like this area, but then there's no way to get out of that place because you didn't say anything. Sometimes I try and think in my head like, all right, I need to say this phrase because this phrase is a good bridge from here to here, or like maybe it's the point of the video entirely. I'll say that phrase in multiple different locations, and then in the edit, I know I can use the best one for that. Maybe that's just a hook, and then we
Yeah.
can go through what you said to start this. It's gonna be crap. Like I don't know what it's gonna be, and then when you get there and you start to cut it up and you realize actually I do have something, I don't think that feeling really goes away. You just know like, okay, as long as I got shot A, shot B, shot C, and I said one thing that makes it unique to that location, I'll be fine. It might not be a full act, but it might be a good transition. But the worst is when you get back and you didn't think it was going to turn out, and then you get back and it is working, but you didn't go the extra mile. Like you didn't finish it as if, like you didn't finish that location as if it was going to work. I think that's the best way to say it. Just
Yeah.
believe it's going to
Yeah.
work, and you have a way better chance of making it work in the edit.
I just think what you do really well is what Casey also does really well is coming up with those transitions. And of course you have your style with a tripod locked off shot and everything in between. That's why I also like always watched your videos, like start to finish, because you don't get interrupted with anything and it's not boring because it's taking too long. So maybe first of all, going back, how do you see vlogging in 2023 itself?
It really is going to come down to story. And this is what happens every time. Like everyone goes, oh, well, it's all about the story. And people who don't,
But it is.
it's literally, story is literally the only thing that matters. Everything else in your video, in your book, in your essay, whatever it is, maybe not essay, that's a report, but everything else is just there to aid the story. Basically, if you can't have your video or your vlog as a spoken word, it's probably not going to end up being a good video, because that means you're relying on like camera effects, you're relying on the Transformers format. Just make sure
Yeah.
something explodes in the first 5 seconds, and then like we'll just have a bunch of transformations, and it doesn't really matter. A good story will hook anybody.
When story is this important, when you have a vlog, do you say like one vlog is just one story? How do you define like what is going to be the stories of this video? Like how do you come up with that, and how do you decide that when you're starting a vlog?
You'll notice my vlog count has gone way lower nowadays than it used to be. That's partly due to the fact that I don't get joy out of making a video with no story anymore. And I personally can't come up with a story every single time. I shouldn't say can't. I just I can't just spend all day making vlogs, which I would love to do. I want to answer this in two parts. One, I don't know if this is exactly what your question was, but I think what makes Casey so great in particular is like he has an overarching story, which is like every video, it's like his life in New York. New York plays such a big role in his videos, and this is very clear because when he moved to California, the videos were still good, but they were not Casey. I hate to say that, but like as he's been back, there's like this ridiculous nostalgia of returning home for everyone.
It's also like it was one of the characters in his videos.
Yeah.
And that character just got shot off completely.
Like I was talking to my friend Take, who's a Big Head Taco on YouTube.
Need to go check it out.
Yeah, definitely go check it out. Especially if you're into Fuji or Leica, he's your guy. LA is too big. It's like there's too much distance in LA. There's not enough compactness. Like Casey needs to be 3 inches away from his face all the time. And that's what makes New York so perfect for him. Like he's the New York City human. Like if you were to choose like, okay, what type of city would reflect this person? Like Casey is to the core New York City. Like frantic.
Yeah.
Doesn't care about breaking anything. Just like moving fast, pushing things out of the way. Like I need to go. I don't care what happens. Before I forget, one of my favorite scenes, and I can't remember which one it was, like maybe 2 or 3 videos back, and he's writing an equation, but he's writing the equation on the cop car in New York City.
Yeah, it was like this guy. Only one guy who does this.
So this second more focused part to that answer is like do you need a story to start the vlog? If you're doing a daily vlog, I don't think so. It's a plus if you have the story right away because it's going to make your day a lot easier. But basically how I'll do it is I'll wake up, I'll kind of like mentally think, okay, what am I doing today? And is there anything right off the top that I can think of as a story for today's video? My vlog the other day actually about this podcast, rescheduling it, was I think a really good example of that. It may not be no, it was great. We got a video out of it. The other thing is I always have 1 or 2 things in each video that are probably going to be there as just a recurring theme, a recurring character. I tend to use coffee, making a coffee in almost every one of my videos. And I know every single person, if you've got this far into the podcast, you're going, yeah, sure, yeah, Peter McKinnon did that, blah 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 blah. I get it. I'm not denying that he made that famous and okay, but in the context of my videos, I'm waking up in the morning. Like it's part of the morning routine. I'm not stopping in the middle of a video and going, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm just,
What's up, everybody?
yeah. What's up, everybody?
How many vloggers that I see do that every time at the start?
What's up, everybody? So have some things that are these are what I call kind of secret. They're secret warm-ups and tune-ups in your video. By the time you're finished recording these parts where you just have to get these specific shots, you're more primed, you're more greased, ready to go. So I can take it from a multitude of places. Once I've made the coffee in my apartment, I can either take that coffee and transition to another spot, or I can sit down with that coffee and start talking to the camera. Both make very, very friendly transitions.
That's a really good part. I never saw it that way. Like I saw it as a warm up, but I never thought of like just the coffee being the object of transition. Because I think a lot of people think of transitions as in going from one place to the other, but not like as from
an act.
Going from one cut to the other cut. Yeah, that's a good one.
I knew. Okay, I woke up because we were gonna have the podcast. By the time that I realized we're not having the podcast, that's where my brain switches and goes, okay, I have a couple options to go here. The first hook, if you will, the main premise of that video would be the podcast not happening. So I have an excuse now for being up earlier than I normally would, even though that's the time I get up. And then that's when I actually messaged you and I was like, hey, can you send me another voice memo so that I can overlay this? I can overlay this over my coffee to give it more context to the morning, this is something you see every time, but now there's this voice over top that is shaping the way that this video is going to go. So you still get the familiarity
Yeah.
of the coffee, as well as now you've got a little bit of the storyline, and I haven't even said a word to the camera yet. I have a couple of different locations that I go in almost every vlog. So I know that as long as I'm at home, if I don't have an idea from home to the office, I can use that walk, or I can start recording on the way there to see if I can come up with an idea for the video, and then use that whole thing to transition into the rest of the day. The whole video might
Yeah.
take me, I might film the whole video in the morning, but it'll feel like a full day.
100%. Okay, so this really ties into the next question that I want to ask you here. Can we think of like key shots that we need? When I think of an edit, I always pronounce it as building blocks. So like, what are the building blocks for a vlog? Because I think a lot of new people who are starting to get in, like you have these two long stretched out pieces of vlog, like they're filming everything, which also doesn't need to happen. So like, what are the building blocks for example, an act where you then know, okay, after that act, there's going to be a transition until the new act?
I think
Sorry
that
for the difficult questions.
no, that's a great question. If you're a beginner versus like you've done it before, like it'll change. If you're just starting out and you have some sort of camera chops and you wanna start learning how to make YouTube videos, one, you need to go to Creator Secrets, because that's going to teach you how to structure your video. Even this stuff is just principle. The other thing is, this is going to sound so contradictory, but story is definitely the most important thing. But I think when you're learning and you're trying to figure it out, your videos are going to be crap anyway. Start figuring out how to shoot sequences and how to go to a location and break down like how you're going to get a scene. That's
But like,
one of
if we're
Yeah.
breaking down that scene, like how do we do that? Because for example, what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of breaking down the scene is, first you get there, like you need to show what the surrounding is. So you do that establishing shot. So that means you need to get like a wide shot of having
Yeah.
everything in frame. And then like, what comes after that establishing shot? Like that's the main question.
I think it goes like context, the wide shot, and then maybe focus, like the medium of like where you're looking, and then the detail, which is like the tighter shots. Once I've seen the context, then the details make a lot more sense. Sometimes you want to reverse that because you don't want to fully reveal yet what the context is. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. What's that? And then boom, okay, that's what that is. I think if you start to think in terms of scenes, in terms of like you're getting your blocks together. One of the biggest things that changed the way that I make videos is realizing that you can actually completely rearrange your video. It doesn't have to be true to what actually happened. It needs to be true to a story that you're trying to tell. As far as everyone else is watching, like your video is kind of like a movie to them. Your life didn't exist the same way that it did for you to them. So if you can switch up the video, maybe you switch this part where you went to this place and then you put it at the beginning to create a better story. That is one of like when that part unlocks in your head, that really is going to make a huge improvement in your videos. It's like, how many times have I sent you a video and I went like, okay, I've already uploaded this, like it's unlisted, it's ready to go, and I think I'm going to recut this entire video.
Yeah, and then I watch it, and I watch the second edition, and I watch the third edition, and the fourth edition is the one that goes up, and it's like still completely. I can see all the blocks, like the sequences,
Yeah.
but they're like completely arranged, like differently arranged than the previous cut.
And the thing is with YouTube specifically, this is not like people don't pay a ticket. They don't pay $15 to go sit down and watch your 2.5 hour video. They literally open up their web browser. They go, oh, that might be interesting. They click it. And if they're not intrigued within the first 15 seconds, they're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's irrelevant what your video is. Like you'll notice, like even in my videos, they'll get less and less cinematic as the video goes on. Like I might have a lot of cuts, a lot of better transitions at the beginning, and then the final act, if you will, is like generally me talking to the camera. Because if you've gotten that far, now you're at least I've built up 20 seconds of allowance for me allowed to be able to talk.
Yeah, you build in permission to be normal and not have to cut your life. Well, actually, your retention rate, and that's why maybe we need to do a podcast on like just analytics.
I'd be open to
Because like
showing my whole thing if you wanted to.
because your retention is like actually really good. Not only like the retention of the videos, but like the overall like the hockey stick figure is just like a complete line,
Yeah.
which means like people are watching from start to finish, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like if you do, for example, like a lot of videos that I've done which are more information based and you don't know how to structure those videos well, if you give too much in the beginning, like people just click away afterwards because they got what they wanted to see. If you keep it too far in the end, then people don't see it directly and they're also clicking away, but because it's like, this is not the video that I wanted to see because I don't know where it is. Just having that in your videos is already really good, which also means that you know the storytelling way, because if you cannot tell that story, then people are not going to be watching everything, right?
That's true. Yeah. Or they just like my face. I don't know. They love to hate.
There's a lot to say about that, but
Yeah.
it's the mustache.
You should look at some of the comments on my videos. Like when I shave my mustache, like these people come out of the shadows. They do. We'll just get
Zoom in. Yeah. But then the next question, which is like, you come home and you might or might not know where this whole vlog is going to go. Like, what are some things in the edit that you really need to think about when you're starting to edit the vlog?
One of the first things for sure now, especially after talking to you about like when we workshop videos, is how can I create interest right away? Even if you want to start a video the same way you want to start it, find something to put in front of that will pique the interest. Because I actually started after we talk. Sometimes I'll go back and I'll look at old videos, or if I'm trying to find inspiration or where did I have the lightning in the bottle here? I'll open up an old video and I'll start watching it and I'll go, man, I didn't actually get to the point here until like the 1.5 minute mark. It's fun for people to watch if they know who I am, or it's fun for me to watch because I filmed it. But if somebody just clicked on this video, they're going to be like, what? Like, it says like GoPro Hero 11 versus this. And like, I haven't seen a GoPro or anything for the first 1.5 minutes of this video. And guess what? That person watching didn't even see anything past the 15-second mark because they already went to a different video. So as far as the edit goes, I go, okay, did any disaster happen today? Like did I get anything out of the ordinary on camera today? Because if I did, that might be a good part to start, drop your like 2-second intro right after that, and then start your video. So you're creating that intrigue right away.
That's the magic of editing.
Yeah.
Right? How do you know when an edit isn't working in a vlog?
If you ever get bored while you're watching your edit, that is a complete red flag. Because if you're getting bored, then everyone else is getting bored. And if you're desensitized to yourself and you're such a like self-loving person that you can't even do that, try watching a video next to somebody who you trust. You will begin to get really self-conscious about the parts where you're talking a little bit too long, and you can see them kind of like start to move away, and you're like, okay, it's not good. The secret, okay, the big secret here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for this one.
Yeah.
I have a niece. She's 3 years old. She loves watching my videos, but there are certain videos she doesn't love watching, and she's not afraid to say, turn it off or change it. So like she'll be watching and like it'll get to a part and she'll be like, no, turn it off. Next one. Because I start talking. She will be entertained with the transitions, with the other stuff. But the moment that video starts to get a little bit boring, she's gonna let me know. Have a kid watch your video. If the kid is interested in your video, that's a very good marker to if an adult is going to be interested in your video. In terms of like what's one of the best ways to start your edit if you haven't done it enough is like really prioritize pacing. Pacing is the rate at which your video flows and moves. If you find things are getting a little bit too stagnant, you need to cut them down. And a general rule for this is like once you've done your edit and you're like, okay, this is pretty good. Let's say it's 7 minutes. It's a 7 minute video. Try and make that same video, exact same video, 5 minutes. Like keep
Yeah.
compressing it. Look through. Is there any part that drags on a little bit too long? Like everyone always says, cut to the music, and this is a really good tip. Sometimes I like to even cut my vlog before I add the music, just for pacing. Here's where I'm
Yeah.
gonna want like a quicker cut. Here's where I'm gonna want it to be a little bit leveled out, and then that will help you find the right music to flow with that. Music is gonna help you immensely in a vlog. It's like
And music is so important for a vlog, and I didn't realize. Like, I that's what I said. Coming back from this horrible day, which felt like awful to the millisecond. I come back, I load everything in, but I saw there were like some shots what they made with a 360 camera, which was like bullet time or like time warp, where you have these motion blur effects
Yeah.
inside of a time lapse, and I was like, oh wait, let me go to my music collection and just start scrolling and see if something pops up. That turned into a flow state, and I
Yeah.
think I cut that entire section in like 10 minutes or less. And that moment felt like, oh my god, this is so good. And then I ran out of footage to use. So now I have to film the rest of the vlog.
So one of the other things is that if you end up going to a location and you end up cutting this really cool part and you realize, okay, I don't have enough here, you might have to cut that out of the vlog as a main storyline. And in your edit, you go, okay, now the video is going to be about this now, and you can reflect and say, I actually went down here and use that footage still, but you have to audibly create the reason for showing unrelated footage.
Yeah, that's the issue. That's my biggest issue right now. So, but yeah, if you've watched the vlog, once this podcast turned up, then you know how I
How you used
made
it.
it work, how I used it, right? Is there any wall that you hit when you're editing? Like that's like the real moment that you're like, shit, now what?
I usually don't hit a wall in the edit. I usually hit a wall in during the day and I stop filming, which is the ultimate like you can't survive once you've stopped shooting because you have nothing left to work with. It also depends like daily vlogging versus just like releasing one or two vlogs, completely different. Like you have no time to refine and do everything in daily. Like daily vlogging will make you a very good editor very fast because you don't have an option to go back and reshoot or do this. My biggest blocks now, because I'm so aware of story, is if I don't have the story by like halfway through at least, like probably like the 1/4 mark, then it's hard for me to like I get like completely lethargic to the idea of shooting, and then I generally stop. So I think if we're in the edit, as long as I have the beginning, middle, and end, I'll figure out a way. It's really just making sure that you bring the blocks in. And the beauty of the transition is you only need that second of like,
Yeah.
okay, whoa, what happened? And now I can talk about anything. Now it's like, okay,
Yeah.
whoa, that was a whole different thing. The other one I wanna add this before I forget. One of my biggest modern day YouTube inspirations is Tom's no is actually
Oh boy.
Van Neistat, where Casey is like the rustle and bustle. He's like the master vlogger. I think Van Neistat is the master storyteller. Like he creates these whole other world, like they're almost short films, and there's like such a raw style to these videos. He's been like a huge modern inspiration for me of like, okay, I want my videos to be in between these. Like I love the quick and dirty vlog, but I also love the like mystery
The
and
artistic.
yeah.
Do you think you can still vlog which was in the daily vlog era where you don't have anything to say and you're just a vlogger? Or is it now becoming the part where you have to have something to say? Like you need to have your own story, which is like for you, your life in Vancouver. It's Casey, his life in New York. That's the thing. And now we're just going to see what an episode in that day in the life looks like. Mm-hmm. But you see so many vloggers who are just, today I woke up and then I did this and then I did that. And then now I go to bed. See you tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. The amount of story that you need to have in your vlog is directly related to the amount of following you have. I think it's contradictory in a way because to get the following, you're going to need to be a good storyteller. But the more famous you are, if you will, for lack of vocabulary, I think the less story you need because people are already interested in what you do. Like, great. I can't even think of a non-offensive celebrity now. If Brad Pitt decided he wanted to make a vlog and like he's like, yeah, I just woke up, made a coffee, and I'm gonna take a dump right now. Then I'm gonna go meet up with this person. Then I'm gonna go to bed. Bye. Like people are gonna watch that. They want to see this person who's like out of this world humanized. People like Emma Chamberlain are a really good example of that. Because like it's not like she was famous before she did that, but she has such a likable style that like that's so relatable to people. But I think that's really comes down to her personality.
I'm starting to think something. Do you think you need to be introvert or extrovert to make good vlogs, or it doesn't matter at all?
I think the beauty of vlogging is that an introvert can appear extroverted because there's so many people watching them and there's this thing. But the reality is that YouTube is quite a lonely, it's a lonely thing. Once we hang up this phone, I'm just in a room on my own, just looking at electronics essentially.
Yeah.
I think both have their benefits actually. Introverted is going to help you in the edit. And as long as your style is conducive to being introverted, like, would you say Casey's introverted or extroverted? That's a difficult question.
100%. No, he's 100% extroverted.
Yeah.
Well, not 100% is a lot, but he's extroverted enough, whereas you can see it doesn't take a lot of energy for him to walk up to strangers and ask a question.
Yeah.
I'm like a introverted extrovert, and I know like I can push myself enough. I don't have to push myself to make these videos and talk to a camera, but the moment I step outside of my home, like that filter goes on again.
Yeah.
And then every time I record something, I've pushed myself enough that I can talk in front of other people, but I can hear in the edit, like I can hear like my voice start. So yeah, guys, this is whereas in a normal video, I would be, hey guys,
For instance, even if you take Van Neistat versus Casey Neistat, Van rarely interacts with people. A lot of his stuff is voiceover or him around his house. I find personally, like I'm similar to you. Like I'm an introverted extrovert. Like I love my alone time, but I can also get like my tank can also get filled with good conversation with people. I find like vlogging in public still, no matter what, is like I cringe so hard when I'm walking and someone looks back and I'm saying something. But then I also have this like internal competitor in me that goes, no, I need to finish a sentence even if I'm not going to use it. I'm not stopping talking because that person's looking at me. Like I refuse to let that person break my spirit. On that video, I went to the pub and I'm walking with my 360. This person, I said something, I started it big and like I didn't realize the person was there and they like looked over, and I'm not kidding you. I literally pretended like I was on an AirPod on a phone call after that. Like I was like, yeah. I can call you back later. It's all good. And then after I finished that, I even said to the camera, I'm like, I actually just faked that because of my insecurities of being like public vlogging right now. And I kind of laughed about it. But I don't think that ever goes away. So if you're thinking about starting a vlog, I don't think the fear of vlogging in public ever really goes away. It just, your desire to make a better video or to get the shot that you need, it just exceeds the fear.
Is there anything we haven't said about vlogging that you feel like this is important?
This is, I don't know who said this line originally, but Van Neistat said this in one of his videos I was just watching, and it really resonated. A video without a story is just reporting. So imagine yourself standing in front of that green screen with a weather report behind you. That's what you look like to me. You're just telling me what the weather is.
Hey, editor Tom here. Just want to say big thanks for watching until now. Now, FYI, if you want to listen to this and some other talks, you can just go to my podcast, which is similarly called Creator Secrets. You can use the link down below or just use your favorite podcast application. Also, if you need more vlogs in your life,
check out @ChrisMeetsChris, and hopefully you'll start to see some of the things I was talking about in this episode, or you can just see if I'm completely full of it. So you should go for your own research.
And finally, if you enjoyed our talk, you might like this video. It's a podcast with VFX artist Inyas Alea and how he grew his channel to now probably over 450K already. Definitely worth a watch, so I will see you there.